The escape pod screamed through the atmosphere, its metal shell glowing red-hot. Inside, Tay gripped the safety harness with white knuckles. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. The pod's computer spoke in a flat voice. Emergency landing in progress. Brace for impact. Tay closed his eyes. This was not how his first deep space mission was supposed to end. The research vessel Hana had been studying a strange energy pattern at the edge of charted space when something went wrong. Very wrong. A wave of energy had hit the ship without warning. Systems failed. The captain ordered everyone to the escape pods. Now Tay was plummeting toward an unknown planet alone. The trees came up fast. Branches snapped against the pod's hull. Metal screamed. Tay's head slammed against the side panel despite the harness. Pain exploded behind his eyes. Then everything stopped. Silenced, Tay opened his eyes slowly. Blood trickled down his temple. The pod had come to rest in a small clearing, surrounded by tall trees with purple-tinged leaves. Through the cracked viewport, he could see 3 suns hanging in an alien sky. Location unknown, the computer announced. Communications offline. Life support failing. Perfect, Tay muttered. He released his harness and checked himself for injuries. The cut on his head was minor. His right ankle hurt when he put weight on it, but it wasn't broken. He could walk. Tay gathered what supplies remained intact. A survival pack with basic rations, a water purifier, a small medical kit, his personal tablet, though it had no signal, and his service weapon, a standard-issue blaster. The pod door was jammed. Tay had to kick it 3 times before it burst open with a hiss of escaping air. The atmosphere outside smelled strange, sweet and thick like overripe fruit. His environmental suit's sensors blinked green. The air was breathable, at least. Tay stepped onto alien soil for the first time. The ground felt springy beneath his boots. The clearing was about 20 meters across, ringed by trees that towered at least 50 meters high. Their bark was smooth and pale, almost white. "Hello?" he called out, more from habit than hope. His voice echoed and faded. Nothing answered except a distant sound like wind chimes. Tay checked his tablet. The emergency beacon was transmitting, but with the communications array damaged, he had no way to know if anyone could hear it. The Hana would search for survivors, but in this uncharted region it could take weeks to find him, if they found him at all. As the day wore on, Tay explored the area around his crash site. He found a small stream with clear water about 100 meters from the clearing. His purifier confirmed it was safe to drink. The forest was alive with strange sounds, but he saw no animals. Just small floating creatures that might have been insects or seeds. By the time the first sun began to set, the temperature was dropping rapidly. Tay's suit could regulate his body heat to a point, but it wasn't designed for extended exposure to extreme cold. He needed fire. Gathering fallen branches and what looked like dry underbrush, Tay arranged a campfire in the center of the clearing, near his pod. The emergency kit contained fire starters, small chemical tabs that would burn hot enough to ignite almost anything. The fire caught quickly. Flames danced upward, casting warm light across the clearing. Tay sat close, extending his hands toward the heat. The second sun was setting now and the forest grew darker. The third sun, smaller and more distant than the others, would follow soon. Day 1 on planet Nowhere, Tay said to himself, still alive. He ate a ration bar from his pack. It tasted like cardboard and salt, but it would keep him going. As he chewed, Tay tried to remember his survival training. Rule 1, stay with your vessel if possible. Rule 2, secure water, food, and shelter. Rule 3, conserve energy while maintaining a signal for rescuers. He had water. He had some food. The pod could serve as shelter, though it was cramped. The beacon was active. All he could do now was wait and survive. The third sun set, plunging the forest into darkness broken only by his fire and the strange bioluminescent glow that came from some of the plants. The temperature continued to drop. Tay added more wood to the fire and wrapped his emergency thermal blanket around his shoulders. A rustling sound came from the edge of the clearing. Tay reached for his blaster, pointing it toward the noise. "Who's there?" The rustling grew louder. Something was moving through the underbrush, coming closer. Tay's finger tensed on the trigger. From between 2 luminous ferns emerged a creature unlike anything Tay had ever seen. It was small, about the size of a house cat, with a long, sinuous body covered in scales that shimmered blue in the firelight. It had 4 legs ending in delicate claws and a long tail that swished back and forth. Two tiny wings were folded against its back, too small for flight. Its head was triangular with large, intelligent eyes that reflected the flames. Tay lowered his weapon slowly. The creature didn't seem threatening. It sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring. Then it chirped, a sound somewhere between a bird's call and a kitten's mew. "Hello there," Tay said softly. "What are you?" The creature tilted its head, studying him with those bright eyes. Then, to Tay's astonishment, it scampered directly toward him. Tay tensed, but the creature showed no signs of aggression. It circled the fire once, then approached Tay cautiously. He remained still, hardly daring to breathe. The creature sniffed his boot, then his hand when he slowly extended it. Its scales were smooth and warm to the touch despite the cold night air. The creature chirped again, seemingly pleased by the contact. "You're friendly," Tay said with relief. "That's good. I could use a friend right now." As if understanding his words, the creature did something completely unexpected. It climbed into Tay's lap and curled up like a cat, its tail wrapping around itself. It made a sound like purring and closed its eyes. Tay sat frozen in surprise. Then carefully he placed a hand on the creature's back. It didn't move except to purr louder. "I guess you like the fire," Tay said. "Can't blame you. It's getting cold out here." The creature opened one eye, looking up at him, then settled back into its comfortable position. As the night deepened, Tay found himself talking to the creature. He told it about Earth, about the Hana, about how he had always wanted to explore new worlds but never expected to be stranded on one. The creature seemed to listen, occasionally making soft chirping sounds as if in response. "I should call you something," Tay said, stroking its scales. "How about Isul? It means dew in my language." "You shimmer like morning dew," Isul chirped and nuzzled against his hand. "Isul it is then." For the first time since the crash, Tay felt a spark of hope. He wasn't completely alone on this strange world. And something told him that Isul was more than just an animal. The intelligence in those eyes hinted at something special. As the night wore on, Tay added more wood to the fire. Isul remained curled in his lap, a warm, comforting presence. Despite his situation, Tay found himself smiling. "Tomorrow we'll figure things out," he told Isul. Together, the creature purred in agreement, its scales shifting slightly to a deeper blue. Above them, strange stars wheeled in an alien sky, and somewhere in that vastness, Tay hoped, the Hana was looking for him. But for now, he had fire, he had shelter, and he had an unexpected companion. It would have to be enough. Morning came with a riot of colors. The three suns rose one after another, painting the sky in shades of pink, gold, and deep purple. Tay woke with a stiff neck from sleeping upright. Isul was still curled in his lap, warm and heavy. "Good morning," Tay said, his voice rough from sleep. Isul opened bright eyes and stretched like a cat, extending tiny wings that sparkled in the morning light. The creature chirped happily and climbed onto Tay's shoulder, balancing there with surprising grace. "You're getting comfortable fast," Tay said with a smile. He stood carefully, mindful of his sore ankle. The fire had burned down to embers overnight. Tay's stomach growled. He opened his pack and took out another ration bar. As he unwrapped it, Isul watched with clear interest. "Hungry?" Tay broke off a small piece and offered it to the creature. Isul sniffed the food, then turned away with what looked like disgust. The creature jumped down and scampered to the edge of the clearing, then looked back at Tay expectantly. "You want me to follow you?" Isul chirped and darted into the underbrush. Tay hesitated. Should he leave the crash site? The emergency beacon was in the pod. If he wandered too far, rescuers might not find him. But Isul seemed insistent, returning to the edge of the clearing and chirping loudly. Okay. But not too far," Tay said. He grabbed his pack and blaster, then followed the creature into the forest. The trees grew closer together away from the clearing. Strange plants with spiral-shaped leaves lined the path. Some released puffs of glowing spores as Tay passed. Isul moved quickly but always stayed within sight, stopping occasionally to make sure Tay was following. After about 10 minutes, they reached a small grove where round purple fruits hung from low branches. Isul climbed a tree with ease and bit one of the fruits free. It fell to the ground with a soft thud. The creature jumped down and nudged the fruit toward Tay. "Is this for me?" Tay asked. "Is it safe to eat?" Isul chirped and took a small bite from the fruit, then looked at Tay expectantly. Tay picked up the fruit and examined it. His survival training warned against eating unknown plants, but his rations wouldn't last forever. He took a cautious bite. The fruit was sweet and tangy with a texture like a peach. Juice ran down his chin. It was delicious, thank you, Tay said, wiping his mouth. Much better than ration bars. Isul seemed pleased, chirping happily and climbing back onto Tay's shoulder. Together they gathered more fruits, filling a pocket in Ty's pack. As they headed back toward the crash site, Tay noticed something strange. The forest had gone completely silent. Even the wind chime sounds had stopped. Isul tensed on his shoulder, scales shifting from blue to a mottled green that blended with the surrounding plants. What's wrong? Tay whispered, reaching for his blaster. A figure stepped onto the path ahead of them. Tay froze. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like polished silver in the dappled sunlight. Large eyes with vertical pupils like a cat's. Long, flowing hair that moved as if underwater despite the still air. The being wore simple clothing made from what looked like woven leaves. You are far from home, sky traveler, the being said in perfect, unaccented Korean. Tay's mouth fell open. You speak my language? The being tilted its head. I speak as you hear. I am Han, you are human. Yes, my name is Tai. He hesitated, then asked, How do you know what I am? We have watched the sky for many cycles. We have seen your kind before, though none have landed in our forests until now. Han's gaze shifted to Isul, who had relaxed and was now chirping excitedly. You have found a dragon, child. Dragon? Tay looked at Isul with new wonder. This is a dragon? Han nodded. A hatchling newly emerged. She has chosen you. Chosen me? For what? That is for her to know and you to discover. Han gestured for Tay to follow. Come, our village is not far. The forest grows dangerous when darkness falls. Tay hesitated. My escape pod, there's a beacon. If my people come looking, we will return there before the third sun sets, Han promised. But now you must come with me. There is much you need to learn. With Isul still perched on his shoulder, Tay followed Han deeper into the forest. The path wound between massive trees, occasionally crossing small streams on bridges made of living wood that seemed to have grown into that shape naturally. What do you call this world? Tai asked as they walked. Nara, Han replied. It means country or land in your tongue, though that is not its true name. True names have power here. And your people? We are the Narin, the people of Nara. Han glanced back at him. And you are from Earth, the blue world. Tai nodded, surprised again. You know of Earth? We know of many worlds. We watch, we learn. We remember. Han stopped suddenly, raising a hand. Listen. Tai heard nothing at first. Then faintly a sound like distant thunder. What is it? Riders, Han said, his expression darkening. We must hurry. They moved faster now, Han leading Tai off the main path and through dense underbrush. Isul clung tightly to Tay's shoulder, her scales shifting between green and blue. Who are these riders? Tay asked, ducking under a low branch. Those who would take dragon hatchlings for their own purposes, Han said grimly. They break the bond and bend dragons to their will. It is forbidden. The thunder grew louder. Tay could now make out individual hoofbeats and strange, high-pitched calls that made his skin crawl. They hunt you? Tay asked. They hunt unbonded hatchlings, Han corrected. And now they hunt you, for you carry what they seek. Tay instinctively placed a protective hand over Isul. The small dragon pressed against his neck, trembling slightly. I won't let them take her, Tay said firmly. Han gave him an appraising look. Perhaps the hatchling chose well after all. They reached the edge of a wide ravine. Far below, a river rushed over rocks. Spanning the gap was a bridge unlike any Tai had seen. A living structure of intertwined vines and branches that swayed gently in the breeze. Quickly, Han urged. Once we cross, we are in Narin territory. They will not follow. Tay eyed the bridge doubtfully. Will it hold my weight? It is stronger than it appears. Trust in Nara. Taking a deep breath, Tay stepped onto the bridge. It dipped slightly but held firm. Han moved ahead with sure steps, and Tay followed more cautiously. Isul chirped encouragingly in his ear. Halfway across, the thunder of hooves grew suddenly louder. Tay looked back to see riders emerging from the forest. They rode beasts like horses but with scaled hides and 6 legs. The riders themselves were bulky, armored figures with faces hidden behind metal masks. Run, Han shouted. Tay broke into a sprint, ignoring the pain in his ankle. The bridge swayed alarmingly beneath him. Behind, one of the riders raised a weapon, a long tube that glowed with strange energy. A bolt of light shot past Tay's head, singeing his hair. Isil shrieked and suddenly launched from his shoulder, tiny wings beating furiously. To Tay's amazement, the small dragon hovered in the air, facing the riders. From her mouth came a jet of blue flame that struck the bridge where it met the far bank. The vines caught fire instantly. The flames spread with unnatural speed, racing toward the riders. They pulled their mounts back, shouting in a harsh language Tay couldn't understand. Han grabbed Tay's arm and pulled him the final few meters to safety. Behind them, the bridge collapsed in a tangle of burning vegetation, plunging into the ravine below. Isil flew back to Tay, landing on his shoulder with a satisfied chirp. "Did you know she could do that?" Tay asked Han, breathless from the run and the shock. "All dragons breathe fire," Han replied, "but few so young can control it with such precision." He studied Isil with new respect. "She is special, this one." From the far side of the ravine, one of the riders removed his mask and shouted across the gap. His face was humanoid but distorted, with gray skin and eyes that glowed red even in daylight. "This is not over, Narin," the rider called in accented Korean. "The human and the hatchling will be ours." Han made a gesture that needed no translation in any language. The rider replaced his mask and led his companions back into the forest. "Who are they?" Tay asked. "The Cole," Han said. "Once they were like us before greed corrupted them. Now they enslave dragons for war and profit." He placed a hand on Tay's shoulder, careful not to disturb Isil. "Come, we are close to the village now. There is much to explain and little time." As they walked away from the ravine, Tay felt Isil nuzzle against his neck. The small dragon had just saved his life. Whatever chosen meant, he was beginning to understand it went both ways. "Thank you," he whispered to Isil. The dragon chirped softly in response, her scales shifting to a warm, contented blue. The village of Narin appeared suddenly through the trees. Tay stopped in wonder. Homes built into and around massive trees rose in spirals toward the sky. Bridges of living wood connected the structures at different heights. Soft lights glowed from windows, though Tay could see no source of electricity. "Welcome to Soup," Han said. "Our home for many generations." People moved among the trees with fluid grace. They all had the same silvery skin and flowing hair as Han. Some stopped to stare at Tay and Isil. Children pointed and whispered. "They've never seen a human before?" Tay asked. "Not in person," Han replied. "And never one bonded to a dragon hatchling." A group of Narin approached. At their center walked an older female with hair that flowed like liquid silver. Her eyes were deeper, wiser than the others. "Elder Min," Han said with a respectful bow. "I found this human in the forest." His sky vessel crashed. "The dragon hatchling has chosen him." Elder Min studied Tay with intense eyes. "A human chosen by a dragon? This has not happened in all our history." Isil chirped from Tay's shoulder, puffing out her chest proudly. "The Cole were hunting them," Han added. "We barely escaped across the ravine bridge." Min's expression darkened. "The Cole grow bolder. They sense the coming change." She turned to Tay. "You have arrived at a dangerous time, human." "My name is Tay," he said. "And this is Isil." Min smiled slightly. "You have named her already. The bond grows strong." She gestured toward the largest tree in the center of the village. "Come, we have much to discuss." They climbed a spiral staircase that wound around the massive trunk. Tay marveled at the craftsmanship. The stairs seemed to grow naturally from the tree itself, yet were perfectly shaped for feet. "How do you build these?" he asked Han. "We do not build. We ask the trees to grow as we need," Han explained. "It takes time, but the result is harmony with Nara." At the top of the stairs, they entered a large circular room. The walls were the living wood of the tree, polished smooth. A table made from a cross-section of an enormous trunk dominated the center. Around it sat several older Narin, all watching Tay with curious eyes. "The Council of Elders," Min announced. "We guide Soup and protect the dragon bonds." Tay bowed awkwardly, unsure of the proper greeting. Isil chirped and hopped down onto the table, strutting around as if showing herself off. The elders murmured in surprise. "Bold little one," said a male elder with deep blue markings on his silver skin. "She shows no fear." "This is Elder Jun," Min explained. "Our keeper of dragon lore." Jun approached Isil carefully. The small dragon allowed him to examine her, turning to display her wings. "Healthy, strong," Perhaps 3 days from her shell, June said. Her color is unusual. The deepest blue I have seen in many cycles. What does that mean? Tay asked. Blue dragons are rare, Jun explained. They have strong connection to water and sky, and their fire burns hottest of all. He looked at Tay with new interest. She chose you immediately? She crawled into my lap by my campfire, Tay said. I didn't know she was a dragon then. Jun nodded thoughtfully. The bond forms in different ways. Fire called to fire. Min gestured for Tay to sit. A young Narin brought a cup of steaming liquid that smelled like mint and honey. Drink, Min said. It will help your injuries, Tay sipped cautiously. The liquid warmed him from inside and the pain in his ankle immediately lessened. Thank you, he said, but I need to return to my pod soon. If my people come looking for me, your people cannot reach you now, June interrupted. The void storm approaches. Void storm? Min waved her hand and the center of the table shimmered. An image appeared above it, a swirling mass of energy surrounding the planet. Every 1,000 years, Nara passes through a region of space where reality's thin, she explained. Communication beyond our world becomes impossible. Ships cannot enter or leave. How long does this storm last? Tay asked, his heart sinking. 1 full cycle of seasons, Jun said. What you would call a year. Tay sat back, stunned. A year, stranded for a year at minimum. The Hana would report him missing, presumed dead. Isol sensed his distress and returned to his side, climbing into his lap and chirping softly. Tay stroked her scales automatically, finding comfort in the contact. The timing is not coincidence, Elder Min said. Your arrival, the hatchling's choice, the coming storm, all are connected. I don't understand, Tay said. June leaned forward. The Cole believe the void storm brings opportunity. They have an ancient prophecy about a stranger from beyond who will lead them to the heart of Nara. What's the heart of Nara? The elders exchanged glances. Finally, Min nodded. The source of all dragonfire, she said. A crystal deep within the planet that connects all living things here. If the Cole were to control it, they could control all dragons, June finished. Break all bonds at once and remake them to serve the Cole alone. Tay looked down at Isol, imagining her enslaved, forced to use her fire as a weapon. The thought made him sick. What does this have to do with me? He asked. We do not know, Min admitted. But the prophecy speaks of a sky traveler bonded to a blue dragon. The Cole will hunt you, believing you can lead them to the heart. Can I? Perhaps, Jun said. The bond with a blue dragon opens paths others cannot see, but only if the bond matures fully. Han, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Tay needs to learn our ways, and how to strengthen his bond with Isol. Min nodded. You will teach him, Han? You are young, but your bond with Mun is strong. Mun? Tay asked. As if in answer, a shadow passed over the open ceiling of the chamber. A full-grown dragon circled above, at least 10 times larger than Isul. Its scales were a deep green that caught the sunlight like emeralds. My companion, Han said with pride. We have been bonded for 5 years. Tay stared in amazement. Isul will grow that large? Larger, June said with a smile. She is female. They grow bigger than males. Isul chirped as if in agreement, puffing up her chest again. The first lesson begins now, Min said. You must return to your crashed vessel to gather what you need. Han and Mun will accompany you for protection. The Cole will be watching. Can't we just destroy the pod? Tay asked. If it's sending a signal that might lead others here during this void storm. The storm will block all signals, Jun assured him. But you are right to be cautious. We will disable the beacon but preserve the pod. You may need its technology before your time here ends. Min stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Rest tonight. Eat. Tomorrow you begin your training. As they left the council chamber, Tay felt overwhelmed. A year on an alien world, a baby dragon bonded to him. Hunters who wanted to capture them both. And some prophecy that might make him the key to saving or destroying this world's balance. Han seemed to sense his thoughts. It is much to take in, he said gently. But you are not alone. Isul chirped in agreement from Tay's shoulder. Where will I stay? Tay asked. Han led him to a smaller treehouse connected to the main trunk by a short bridge. Inside was a simple room with a bed made of soft moss, a table, and a few chairs. A large opening served as a window looking out over the forest. This will be your home while you are with us, Han said. It was grown for visitors, though we have had none for many years. Tay set his pack down. Isul immediately began exploring the room, sniffing every corner. Thank you, Tay said. For everything, Han nodded. Rest now. I will bring food. He paused at the doorway. The bond you share with Isolde is rare and precious. Trust in it, even when you do not understand it. After Han left, Tai sat on the edge of the bed. Isolde finished her inspection of the room and jumped up beside him, curling into a ball. Well, girl, Tai said, stroking her scales. Looks like we're staying for a while. Isolde chirped softly and closed her eyes, completely at peace despite everything. Tai envied her certainty. Whatever this bond was, whatever fate had brought him to this world, one thing was clear. His life would never be the same. Outside, the second sun began to set, painting the forest in gold. In the distance, Tai could see moon circling lazily on thermal currents, magnificent and powerful. Someday Isolde would soar like that, and perhaps if the bond truly grew as the elders suggested, Tai would fly with her. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. 3 weeks passed quickly in Soup. Each morning, Tai woke before the first sun rose. Han would be waiting to begin the day's training. They had retrieved what they could from the escape pod, disabling the beacon as planned. The coal had not returned, but Han warned they were watching, waiting for their chance. Isolde grew at an amazing rate. She was now the size of a large dog, her wings strong enough for short flights. Her blue scales shimmered more brightly each day. She rarely left Tai's side, even sleeping curled at the foot of his bed. Today, Han had taken Tai to a quiet clearing deep in the forest. Moon, Han's green dragon, lounged nearby, watching with lazy interest. The bond between human and dragon is more than friendship, Han explained. It is a sharing of mind and spirit. You must learn to feel what Isolde feels, to see through her eyes. Tai sat cross-legged on the soft ground. Isolde sat facing him, her head tilted curiously. How do I do that? Tai asked. Close your eyes, Han instructed. Focus on your breathing first. Slow and deep. Tai obeyed, trying to clear his mind as Han had taught him. It wasn't easy. Despite the peaceful surroundings, his thoughts kept returning to Earth, to the Hana, to his family who would think him dead. Your mind wanders, Han observed. This is natural. Notice the wandering, then return to your breath. Tai tried again. Breathe in. Breathe out. He felt the cool forest air filling his lungs, the warmth of the first sun on his face. Now reach out with your thoughts to Isolde, Han said softly. Don't try to speak with words. Feel for her presence. Tai focused on Isolde. He pictured her blue scales, her bright eyes. He thought of how she had crawled into his lap that first night, how she had saved him from the coal riders. Something brushed against his mind. A feeling not his own, curiosity, affection, hunger. Tai's eyes snapped open. I felt something. Isolde chirped excitedly, bouncing on her front legs. Han smiled. Good, the bond grows stronger. With practice, you will be able to share thoughts, even see through each other's eyes. Is that how you communicate with Moon? Tai asked. Han nodded. We rarely need words now. Our thoughts flow together like water. As if to demonstrate, Moon raised his massive head and looked directly at Tai, then back to Han. Han laughed. He says you smell strange, but he likes you anyway. Tai grinned. Tell him thanks, I think. You will tell him yourself soon enough, Han said. Now let us try something more challenging. He instructed Tai to close his eyes again. This time, Han placed a small object in Tai's hand. What is this? Han asked. Don't open your eyes. Ask Isolde. Tai focused on the question, trying to send it to Isolde without words. What am I holding? The brush against his mind came again, stronger this time. An image formed, a small blue stone, smooth and round. Tai could feel Isolde's fascination with the object, her desire to add it to a collection she was starting in a corner of their treehouse. It's a blue stone, Tai said, opening his eyes. In his palm sat exactly what he had seen in his mind. She wants to keep it. Han looked impressed. Very good. The bond forms quickly between you. He glanced at the sky, where the second sun was reaching its peak. Enough for today. Tomorrow we begin flight training. Flight training? Tai repeated. But Isolde can barely stay in the air for a minute. Not for her, Han said with a mysterious smile. For you. The next morning, Tai stood at the edge of a high platform built among the upper branches of the great trees. Far below, the forest floor waited. His stomach churned with fear. You can't be serious, he said to Han, who stood calmly beside him. The bond between dragon and rider must be tested, Han replied. Trust is its foundation. Isolde paced the platform, wings half extended, clearly excited. She had grown even larger overnight. a common occurrence according to Jun. Dragon growth was tied to the strength of the bond and the challenges faced together. She's not big enough to carry me, Tay protested. No, Han agreed. Not yet, but Mun is. The green dragon circled the platform, then hovered alongside it. Han mounted with practiced ease, settling onto a specially shaped ridge between Mun's shoulders. Today you will fly with us, Han said. Tomorrow you will jump and Mun will catch you. The day after that you will jump and Isol will guide you to Mun. And if she misses? Tay asked. Han's expression grew serious. She won't. That is the trust you must develop. For the next hour, Tay experienced the wonder of dragon flight. Clinging tightly to Han, he soared above the forest canopy. The three suns sparkled on Mun's scales. The wind rushed past cool and clean. Below, Isol followed as best she could, determined not to be left behind. When they landed, Tay's legs were shaky, but his face was split with a wide grin. That was amazing, he admitted. Han nodded. Flying with dragons changes how you see the world. It will never look the same to you again. That evening, as Tay sat in his treehouse watching the suns set one by one, Elder Min came to visit. She brought a special tea that tasted of spices Tay couldn't name. Han tells me your training goes well, she said, settling into a chair across from him. I think so, Tay said. The bond with Isol grows stronger every day. Min studied him over the rim of her cup. And yet you still think of Earth, of going home. Tay looked away. Is it that obvious? It is natural, Min said gently. But you should know that once the bond is fully formed, separation becomes difficult. What do you mean? Min set down her cup. The bond is not just of mind, but of spirit. Great distance causes pain for both dragon and rider. Some have died when separated too long or too far. Tay felt cold despite the warm evening. You're saying if I leave Nara, it could kill Isol? Or me? It is possible, Min said. The blue bond is strongest of all. There are tales of blue riders who managed brief separations, but never for long. Tay looked at Isol, who was arranging her growing collection of shiny objects in the corner. She had added the blue stone from training, along with a piece of metal from his escape pod and a feather from some forest creature. I didn't know, Tay said quietly. Would it have changed your actions that first night? Min asked. Would you have turned her away from your fire? Tay thought about it. No, he admitted. I couldn't have, Min smiled. That is why she chose you. Dragon sensed the heart's truth. She stood to leave. Rest well. Tomorrow's training will test your courage. After Min left, Tay sat for a long time watching Isol play with her treasures. The thought of never returning to Earth was painful. His family, his friends, his duty to the colonial fleet, all would be lost to him. And yet as he watched Isol, he felt the bond between them pulse with warmth and life. Could he really leave her even if it were possible? Isol sensed his troubled thoughts. She abandoned her collection and came to him, resting her head on his knee. Through their growing bond, Tay felt her concern, her affection, her complete trust in him. It's okay, girl, he said, stroking her scales. We're in this together now. The next morning brought new challenges. As promised, Han took Tay back to the high platform. This time, Moon circled below instead of alongside. Today you jump, Han said simply. Tay looked down at the dizzying drop. And Moon catches me? Yes, this builds trust between you and dragons. It is an ancient ritual. Isol watched from the platform, unable to participate yet, but clearly interested. Through their bond, Tay felt her excitement rather than fear. She thinks this is fun, Tay muttered. Han laughed. Dragons love to fly. Falling is just flying with a more exciting start. Taking a deep breath, Tay stepped to the edge. Mun circled below, his green wings spread wide. The distance seemed impossible. Trust, Han reminded him. Tay closed his eyes, reached for the bond with Isol, drawing strength from her confidence. Then he stepped off the platform. The fall was both terrifying and exhilarating. Wind rushed past his ears. His stomach lurched. For 3 heartbeats, he was completely free. Then strong, scaled wings swept beneath him. Tay landed on Mun's broad back, the impact softened by the dragon's careful adjustment. He grabbed onto the ridge scales, heart pounding. Well done, Han called from the platform. Mun circled back up, rumbling with what felt like approval. Through his growing sensitivity to dragon emotions, Tay could sense the great creature's respect. When they landed, Isol bounded over, chirping excitedly. She had watched the whole thing and was clearly impressed. Through their bond, Tay felt her eagerness to be big enough to catch him herself. Soon, he promised her, stroking her head. That night, as Tay prepared for sleep, a commotion outside drew his attention. Voices called in alarm. Dragons roared. He rushed to the window to see Narin warriors gathering below, weapons in hand. Han appeared at his door, face grim. The Cole have breached our outer defenses. They come in force this time. What do they want? Tay asked, though he already knew. You and Isul, Han confirmed. They believe the time of prophecy is at hand. Isul growled, a sound deeper than her size should allow. Her scales rippled with blue fire. What should we do? Tay asked. Prepare for battle, Han said. The bond will be tested sooner than we planned. The village of Soup prepared for battle. Warriors moved with purpose, gathering weapons that glowed with soft blue light. Elder men stood at the base of the great tree, giving orders in a calm voice that somehow carried over the noise. Tay followed Han to the armory, a hollow space within one of the larger trees. Inside, weapons of strange design hung on the walls. They looked like spears and bows, but made from living wood that pulsed with inner light. Take this, Han said, handing Tay a short staff. It channels the energy of Nara. Focus your thoughts through it and it will respond. Tay gripped the staff. It felt warm in his hand, almost alive. How do I use it? The same way you connect with Isul, Han explained. Through intention and trust. Isul paced nearby, her scales shifting between deep blue and a fiery purple. She had grown again during the night, now the size of a small pony. Jun had said fear and danger could accelerate a dragon's growth when the bond was strong. The Cole approached from the east, Elder Min announced, entering the armory. They have dragons with them. Enslaved ones. Han's face darkened. How many? 5 riders. Many ground troops. Min turned to Tay. They come for you and Isul. They believe you can lead them to the heart of Nara. Can I? Tay asked. Min and Han exchanged glances. The prophecy speaks of a stranger bonded to a blue dragon finding the path that others cannot see. Min said carefully, We have interpreted this to mean the heart will reveal itself to you. But I don't know where it is, Tay protested. No one does, Han said. It is hidden, protected by ancient magic. But the bond between you and Isul might be the key to finding it. A horn sounded from the edge of the village. The Cole were close. We must protect you until Isul reaches full growth, Min said. Only then will the bond be strong enough to resist the Cole's control. How long will that take? Tay asked. Normally months, Jun said, joining them. But at her current rate of growth, he studied Isul with expert eyes. Perhaps only days. We don't have days, Han said grimly. The Cole are here now. Tay felt Isol's determination through their bond. She was afraid but ready to fight. He stroked her scales, drawing courage from her. What if we don't wait? Tay suggested. What if we try to find the heart now, before the Cole can capture us? The elders looked shocked. It would be dangerous, Min warned. The path to the heart is said to be filled with trials that test the bond. More dangerous than facing the Cole unprepared? Tay asked. Jun nodded slowly. He has a point. If the Cole capture them, all is lost anyway. Where do we start? Tay asked. How do we find this path? The ancient texts speak of a cave beneath the oldest tree in the deepest part of the forest, Jun said. The entrance reveals itself only to those the heart calls. Another horn blast, closer now. Shouts echoed through the village. We have no choice, Min decided. Han, take Tay and Isul to the deep forest. Find the cave if you can. We will hold the Cole here as long as possible. Han nodded, his face grim. Moon is ready. We can leave immediately. Tay gripped the staff tightly. I didn't ask for any of this. Min placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Few who change the world ever do. Minutes later, Tay clung to Han's back as Moon soared above the forest canopy. Isul flew beside them, her wings working hard to keep pace. Below, Tay could see the Cole forces approaching Soup, armored figures on 6-legged mounts, and above them, dragons with metal harnesses that dug into their scales. Even from this height, Tay could sense their pain and rage. Those poor dragons, Tay said. Han nodded grimly. The Cole break their spirits and bind them with pain. It is an abomination. They flew east, away from the village and deeper into the forest. The trees grew larger here, more ancient. The third sun was setting, casting long shadows across the canopy. There, Han pointed to a massive tree that dwarfed even the heartwood of Soup. The first tree, oldest living thing on Nara. They landed in a small clearing near the tree's enormous trunk. Isol touched down beside them, panting from the long flight but standing tall and alert. The cave entrance should be somewhere at the base, Han said, dismounting, but only those called by the heart can see it. Tay approached the tree, feeling its ancient presence. The trunk was wider than his entire treehouse in Soup. Moss and vines covered the gnarled bark, and roots thick as a man's body spread out in all directions. "What am I looking for?" Tay asked. "Trust your bond with Isul," Han advised. "Let her guide you." Tay closed his eyes, reaching for the connection that had grown stronger each day. Isul's mind touched his, curious and eager. He opened himself to her completely, letting their thoughts merge as Han had taught him. When he opened his eyes, the world looked different. Colors were sharper, scents more distinct. He was seeing through Isol's senses as well as his own. And there, between two massive roots, a soft blue glow outlined an opening that hadn't been visible before. "I see it," Tay said, pointing. Han looked but shook his head. "I see only roots and earth. The path reveals itself to you alone." A distant roar echoed through the forest. Mon raised his head, alert. "The Cole have broken through," Han said. "They follow us." "How? We flew." "They have ways of tracking dragons, especially unbonded ones." Han looked troubled. "I must return to help defend Soup." "What? You're leaving us?" Tay couldn't hide his alarm. "The path is for you and Isol alone," Han said. "I cannot see it, nor can Moon. We would only slow you down." He gripped Tay's shoulder. "Trust your bond. It will guide you." Before Tay could protest further, Han mounted Moon and took to the sky, circling once before heading back toward the village. Tay turned to Isol, who watched him with intelligent eyes. "Looks like it's just us now." Isol chirped and nudged him toward the glowing entrance. Through their bond, Tay felt her certainty. This was right. This was their path. Taking a deep breath, Tay ducked between the roots and into the cave. Isol followed close behind. The passage was narrow, but just large enough for the dragon to squeeze through. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that reminded Tay of Isol's scales. The tunnel descended steeply. The air grew warmer as they went deeper. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a vast underground cavern. Crystal formations jutted from floor and ceiling, each pulsing with inner light. An underground river flowed across the center, its water glowing the same blue as the cave walls. "Amazing," Tay whispered. Isol moved ahead confidently, leading him along the river's edge. The cavern opened into a series of connected chambers, each more beautiful than the last. In some, the crystals formed patterns that looked like star maps. In others, they resembled dragons in flight. Through their bond, Tay sensed Isol's growing excitement. They were getting closer to something important. The final chamber took Tay's breath away. It was perfectly circular, with a domed ceiling covered in crystals that mirrored the night sky above Nara. In the center stood a single crystal formation shaped like a flame, pulsing with blue-white light. The heart of Nara, Tay guessed. Isul approached the crystal flame, her scales glowing in response to its light. She looked back at Tay, waiting. Tay stepped forward cautiously. As he neared the heart, he felt its power, ancient and alive, the source of all dragonfire. Through his bond with Isul, he sensed its connection to every dragon on Nara. A voice spoke in his mind, neither male nor female, neither young nor old. "The stranger comes with the blue one." The prophecy unfolds. "Who are you?" Tay asked aloud. "I am Nara, the world, the heart, the flame." Tay felt dizzy with the enormity of it. He was speaking to the living spirit of the planet itself. "The Cole seek to control you," Tay said, "to enslave all dragons. Yes, they have forgotten the true bond. They take instead of share. They command instead of ask. How do I stop them? You cannot. Only the bond can." Isul moved to stand beside Tay, pressing against his leg. Through their connection, he felt her strength flowing into him. "What must we do?" Tay asked. "Complete the bond. Become one flame." Tay looked at Isul, who gazed back with complete trust. He placed his hand on her head and she leaned into his touch. "How?" "The final trial. The leap of faith." The crystal flame flared brighter, and the ground beneath it fell away, revealing a pit of swirling blue fire. It wasn't ordinary fire, it was pure energy, the essence of dragon flame. "Jump together," the voice instructed. Trust completely. Tay hesitated. Jump into fire? It went against every survival instinct. Isol nudged him gently. Through their bond, he felt her absolute certainty. This was right. This was necessary. A distant rumble shook the cavern. The Cole were coming, now, the voice urged. Before it is too late, Tay took a deep breath. He placed his hand on Isol's neck, feeling her scales warm beneath his touch. Together, he said. As one, they leaped into the heart of the flame. The fire engulfed them, but there was no pain. Instead, Tay felt the bond with Isul expand, deepen, become complete. Their minds merged fully. Their hearts beat as one. He saw through her eyes, felt through her scales, knew her thoughts as his own, and she knew his memories of Earth, his duty, his loneliness, his growing love for Nara and its people. When they emerged from the flame, both were transformed. Isul had grown to her full size, her blue scales now shimmering with inner light. And Tay, his skin held a faint blue sheen, his eyes reflecting the same fire that burned in Isul's. The bond is complete, the voice of Nara said. Now face your enemy. As if on cue, the cavern wall exploded inward. Call warriors poured through the breach, led by a massive figure in ornate armor. Behind them came enslaved dragons, their eyes dull with pain, their movements jerky and unnatural. The heart of Nara, the Cole leader said, his voice distorted by his helmet. At last, Tay stood tall beside Isul, no longer afraid. You're too late. The leader laughed. I think not human. Step aside and perhaps I will let you live as my servant. Tay felt Isul's anger through their bond, and his own rose to match it. The dragons are not yours to command. They never were. They are tools, nothing more, the leader sneered. Powerful tools that belong to the strong. You're wrong, Tay said. The bond is not about control. It's about partnership, trust, love. He placed his hand on Isol's neck. Together, they reached out through their completed bond, touching the minds of the enslaved dragons. Tay felt their pain, their broken spirits, their longing for freedom. Remember who you are, he told them through the bond. Remember the true flame. The enslaved dragons stirred, their dull eyes brightening. The Cole leader sensed the change and shouted orders to his men. Kill them. Take the heart. But it was too late. The bond between Tay and Isul had awakened something in the enslaved dragons. One by one, they turned on their Cole masters, breaking their chains, shaking off their harnesses. This ends now, Tay said. Isul opened her mouth and released not ordinary dragon fire, but a beam of pure blue energy, the essence of the heart itself. It struck the cavern ceiling, which began to collapse on the Cole forces. Retreat, the leader screamed, but many of his warriors were already crushed beneath falling rock. Tay mounted Isul for the first time, settling naturally between her shoulder blades as if he had done it 1,000 times before. Through their bond, they moved as one, soaring up through the collapsing cavern and into the open air. Behind them, the freed dragons followed, carrying with them the light of the heart. The true flame rekindled in their spirits. As they flew toward Soup, Tay saw the battle below. The Narin were holding their own, but barely. The arrival of Tay, Isul, and the freed dragons turned the tide instantly. The remaining Cole forces scattered in terror. Han and Moon met them in the air, circling in amazement. You did it, Han called. The bond is complete. Tay nodded, feeling Isul's joy and pride as his own. The heart of Nara is safe, and so are the dragons. As the three suns rose together in a rare alignment, Tay realized something profound. He had come to Nara as a lost human, stranded and alone. He would remain as something more, bonded to Isul, connected to this world in ways he was only beginning to understand. Earth seemed distant now, a memory rather than a home. His home was here with Isul, with the Nara Inn protecting the heart that burned within them all. The void storm would pass eventually. Contact with Earth might someday be possible again, but Tay knew he would never leave Nara. His path had been chosen that night by a campfire, when a lost human lit a flame, and a baby dragon crawled into his lap. Some bonds, once formed, last forever.